Welcome to the Service MVP Podcast. This is where you go to learn how to use pure motive service to create higher value to grow your results. And now, here is your host, America's Service Sales Coach, Joe Crisara.
Welcome to the Service MVP Podcast, and my name is Joe Crisara, America's Service Sales Coach. And this week, we're going to be doing an interesting lesson called The Importance of Level 1 Training for Your Company. So Level 1 training for every company is a way that we take people into the company to orient them on the system of operation, as well as the way we want to communicate a world-class client experience for each and every client, for every employee. Now, companies that either do level 1 training on their own or do it with Service MVP are highly successful, and they are able to manage and motivate their team to reach new levels of success. Companies that do not do level 1 training or just let people get into a truck who are not trained, I call those people the arsonist firemen. These are people who create their own fires as managers or owners by allowing people to get in front of their customers without the appropriate training. And then what they are filled with at the end of the experience is regret and doubt that this employee is the right employee. They start blaming the employee, but then they ultimately start blaming themselves because they never trained the employee to do what they want them to do because they just put them in the truck without any training. So training, coaching, and accountability, and I know everyone here thinks that accountability is something that their company needs. However, accountability or coaching is not possible without training. So training to get started, and level 1 training to begin with, is what we're going to talk about here today, and what you can expect if you were to use Service MVP or if you were going to design your own level 1 training program to make sure that every employee is trained to operate the way you want them to be. Let's get started and let's get moving toward what a level 1 experience looks like. Number one key to any level 1 training is to make sure that you have a rhythm to the training and a certain deadline to the training. So it's important to let people know that this training will start at the beginning of every month. Let's say at Service MVP, we begin on the first week of every month, and we make sure that the first person who's trained before we do the training with the team is to make sure that the manager or owner is trained first. We do a specific meeting with them called Discovery to make sure we learn about who that person is, and then we do a strategy meeting to make sure that they are aware of the leader's role in the training and how the leader needs to get trained first before we start training the team. That's one of the most important things because a leader cannot train their employees on some place that they have never been before themselves. Does that make sense? So with that, every leader has to be trained before they start to train their team. And then we go over the pricing meeting we do with the leaders as well to make sure that the pricing and the way Service MVP operates with multiple year warranties, multiple year service agreements, multiple year consumables, which will add 38 to 42% more revenue and an 80% gross profit. That training is done with the leaders on how that's going to work and how you're going to implement that into your CRM software so that the employees have that available when they do the Service MVP training or your own training. So let's go over the different segments of how this training begins. So once the leader is trained, and I would say it takes about 2 weeks to get every leader trained at Service MVP, we say, before the discovery meeting, the strategy meeting. We even do an adaptation meeting for different trades. Like if you're a different kind of a trade, like a pest control, we try to adapt the material to that specific trade. If you do roofing, obviously HVAC and roofing are different when it comes to the diagnosis and the solutions. So we just show you how to adapt that training as well there too. But with all that being said, the leader is trained in about a 2-week period of time. And in that 2-week period of time, we determine whether the leader is committed to the training. Because the number one reason that training fails, level 1 training or any training, is that the leaders themselves are not fully committed. And the commitment isn't really money. The commitment is time. The time it takes to block out and train yourself as to what you're going to teach your people to be able to do and get this thing going the right way. So let's get started with level 1 training. So at Service MVP, level 1 training is basically a 3-week period of training. Week 1, we start by letting every student know, and I think you should do the same thing if you're doing your own level 1 training, is let everybody know that this training that you're doing on level 1 to get people started in your company is intended to show people care, respect, and support for each and every person who is taking the training. At the end of it, the reason we're doing the training is to make sure that every employee can earn as much money for the time they give the company for their family, to get the best resources, the best transportation, the best housing, the best education, the best vacations and recreation, all that stuff. We want to make sure that employees are rewarded with the very best for the time they put into the training. That's just simple. Number 2, we want to make sure the team is working together in one unified force. That if the left hand speaks, the right hand knows what's going on. If the office knows what the field is doing and the field knows what the office is doing, it's a transparent system where anybody in the company can explain to our clients how our company works. And that is another element of training that we think is important. And number 3, the third motivation behind this is to make sure that the clients get value for the amount of money they put into your company. So this is why level 1 training is for the employee, for the team, and for the client. So let's begin with how level 1 training starts. Well, level 1 training starts at Service MVP with a coach that will guide and train you through the process. What we do is we schedule 3 weeks on the calendar, usually from 7 a.m. till 8:30 in the morning on every single time zone. We have multiple coaches on every time zone that will begin to train your team. Now, whether you do this yourself or you have us do it, this is essential training. The coach will show your students, the people who attend at Service MVP, many different facets of what we teach. We begin with pure motive service, which is the motivation behind why Service MVP exists and why our training exists. That amounts to quality, reliability, safety and health, customer service, customized relevant solutions, and honesty even when it's not popular. That's the very first thing we try to teach, which is that inside yourself, you have to have intrinsic motivation to serve other people the right way. After that, we get into the science of connecting. In the science of connecting, what we teach is how to do what we call magic moments. Now, magic moments are something where we learn about our clients and we praise the effort they make to get through victories and challenges. Now, the reason we do magic moments is because, not just because it's a nice thing we do with our clients, but because magic moments are a way to connect and create an emotional bond, because the emotional contribution you give your client is really the only thing that differentiates your service from other companies. The thing that everybody notices, like, wow, everybody at that company speaks similar in the same way, and I can see that's the kind of company I want to do business with. So we go into magic moments of connecting with people using a personal connection worksheet and getting to know intimately more things about your client so that when you find problems and you try to find solutions, those solutions can be more customized and relevant. This is why we would do the magic moments to connect with people. Number 2, magic moments also make you, the service provider, more energy to be able to serve your clients and keep this thing going. And then the third reason for magic moments is because they create a certain sense of obligation that when we do nice things for other people, our clients want to do nice things for us. It creates an obligation. If I do nice things without the expectation of any reward, then people will want to return that expectation by being nice to me. We then go into week 2. And week 2 goes over the science and psychology of persuasion, and we go over the different things like the law of scarcity, the law of association, the law of balance. There's many different laws of persuasion, which we teach in week 2 in the beginning. And then we go over the science of pricing, and we show people how to diagnose an entire system by zooming out to look at the big picture, not just the micro thing that people are asking us, but how do we look at the big picture to fix the entire system permanently, and not just doing what the client asks, but going above and beyond by diagnosing more things than the client asks for. And then we go into the science of pricing, which is, at Service MVP, we feel creating premium, mid-range, and economy solutions. The science of pricing would show you that when you create premium, mid-range, and economy choices, what happens is that 15% of the people will buy the premium choice, 74% of the people will buy the mid-range choice, and only 11% choose the bottom choices. We teach that science of pricing at Service MVP, and we also show you how to operate this in your software to make sure that your software can be able to present both the problems and the solutions in a customized, relevant way to your client. Just like the pure motives we teach in first part of level 1 training. So level 1 is about pure motive service and connecting with your clients on week 1. Week 2, we go into the science of persuasion and the science of pricing and how to make the diagnosis and the solutions relevant to your clients. And then on week 3, we go over how to present everything to your client. How do you present the problems? How do you present the solutions? How do you get the science of persuasion in place to get the science of commitment? How do you find out the history of the client and how other companies have failed? How do you find out about how the client found your company and what their perception of your company is? And then be able to present everything in one fell swoop at the end. And on week 3, we go over practicing the presentation along with handling at least 8 different objections or pushbacks. Now, what are objections? Objections are sometimes barriers that clients put in front of us to get the job done. Now, you can do the best service and do the best diagnosis and make the best solutions, but ultimately, if nobody makes a purchase, the work doesn't get done. And now you have a lot of people out there doing a lot of work and they're really great people doing a lot of great jobs, but they're not doing the work for people. Or if they do the work, they do it for too little or no money at all. And if the client doesn't invest money in the service, well, then it's not really a true service. It's just a charity. So objection handling is a way where we can stay firm on the prices and the investment it takes to get the job done. Ironically, the amount of money we charge will probably be 5 times more than the average contractor for the most premium option because it will include a 5-year warranty, 5 years of service, 5 years of consumable and extended service as well, with every premium option. The bottom option will just be the Band-Aid, and the ones in the middle will have probably 3 to 4 years or something like that. The average consumer will choose most of the time, 89%, the premium or mid-range options, and that is why at Service MVP, we can 3 times your sales revenue by just putting the science of pricing and the science of persuasion in place. Well, nonetheless, at the end of week 3 in the level 1 training, we go through handling objections. We have 5 different levels of objection handling. We first start with just trigger level 1, where people say something like, hey, your prices are very high. And you'd say, yes, I understand. It's a high investment. So what should we do? Or they might say, I need to think about this. And you'd say, I understand. Take all the time you want. I'll stay right here. What should we do? That's level 1. Level 2 goes into the 6-pack of objection handling. This would be where we have 6 different predetermined methods to get through client resistance about money, about time, about third-party interference and things like that. And the 6-pack is a guaranteed way to get through almost any objection you can. It's pre-scripted and pre-done. This way you don't have to think about it. It just becomes part of your DNA. And then we go on to level 3 objection handling, which is price objections. And specifically, we focus on the value of the service versus the pricing that your company's charging. How can we make sure that the price you're charging looks like a good deal to every customer? And that's what level 3 price objections are about. And then level 4 are the deep cards. In the process of the total immersion training system that we've taught you for 3 weeks, there's a lot of little commitments the clients are making. And level 4 reminds those clients about the commitments they made. And we're just simply using those commitments to go back and move the project forward to get the job done. And then finally, level 5 is called the passion moment. This is where you're just about ready to leave or the client's about ready to ask you to leave. And instead, you communicate the passion you have to get the job done. This is what we teach people at Service MVP. Now, I'm not sure what level 1 training your company would do for 3 weeks, but this is what we would teach. And we have a professional trainer and coach bring you through these 3 weeks. And then week 4 is what we call the graduation week. So what is graduation? Graduation is all along the way, we are taking you through our total immersion benchmark sheet to accomplish and repeat the same behaviors and getting different variations so you can move people down the path to get the job done. If you think of it this way, you start out at the front door and at the end of the process, at the end of every opportunity, is getting the job done. There's a lot of things that can spring up to get you, but here at Total Immersion and Service MVP, we teach you how to shut those doors to be able to get the job done each and every time. And you graduate, here's what happens. You have a coach with a specific time that has been privately given to you. Now, other people can watch if you want to on your team, but this is a special time we give each individual student. Last month, we graduated exactly 239 students, and we average over 200 people graduating at Service MVP each and every month. So your team member will be with our coach and will be on video and audio. And they will also have a personalized, customized diagnosis option sheet, as well as the solutions on that option sheet to be able to present to your clients in a role play call. So the coach will take them from the very time they walk up to that door and go through the entire each phase of the call, the diagnosis, the solutions, and then making these objections to be able to handle resistance at the end is one of the hardest things that anybody will ever go through. And this role play takes 15 to 20 minutes to get through. It will be on video. The student gets a video, they get a certificate, and they get the self-esteem knowing that they got through this challenge of 3 weeks of training and a 4th week graduation. Now, here's what we recommend that each company do with their team. We recommend that as your students get through this training and go through 3 weeks of watching a video, role-playing with our coach, getting through the total immersion benchmark, learning how to diagnose, learning how to create the solutions, learning how to get through these objections, we then tell you to have a graduation ceremony, to have a graduation celebration, if you will. Here's what I want you to imagine every student on your team getting. I want you to imagine that every new person who comes into your company goes through this 3-week experience with Service MVP, and they graduate in week 4, and they are relieved, and they are happy, and they have a feeling of self-esteem. Then we want you to take that employee and have a graduation celebration with your team. What that amounts to is on a morning meeting with your team, you bring the new employees, whoever they are, maybe you got 1 or 2 or just 1 even, and you play the graduation video that the new employee did in front of all the other employees so the other employees can see, and you're proving to the team that this employee has been trained before we let them have a truck. So the whole team watches the video, and at the end, you bring up the student and you give them a standing ovation from your team. And then the owner of the company or manager of the company has a certificate, and they award the certificate to the new employee. They ask the new employee to say a few words about what the experience was like and what do they feel about joining your team. And then you give them the keys to their truck, and then you also give them that certificate, and you frame the certificate on a wall in your company. And then you have a celebration with some coffee, some cake, because we want everybody to feel that sense of achievement and celebration when they're on your team. And let me just say something, everybody. After people graduate level 1 training and you do that celebration at your office, this is an emotional experience that every employee will never forget. When they start thinking about the tough times or whether they still want to work at your company, what they're going to think about is, do I want to leave somewhere where somebody cares this much about me and my company here? I've never worked for a company that cared about its employees as much as this company has. And there you have it. That is level 1 training. So the question is this: is your company right for level 1 training? Well, there's a couple ways you can do this. Obviously, for bigger companies, we have large coaching programs that you can purchase where we do this experience with every field employee, every office employee, and every leader in your company. We have this type of training. We have enough coaches to achieve that. But if you're a small company, let's say you're a 1 or 2 man company, you can do this a la carte. As opposed to purchasing a big coaching program, you can purchase something that's very affordable that allows each employee, you and your coworker, maybe you got 3 people in your company. Imagine all 3 of you going through this 3-week experience, learning the science of pure motive service, the science of connecting, the science of persuasion, how to diagnose the whole system, how to make premium mid-range economy choices with multiple year warranties and services that will increase your sales by 38 to 42% more overnight, and then how to battle through objections to get the job done. And then you hold a graduation celebration for you and your team. And now any new employee that joins your team should be going through level 1 training so they can get the same education. And then they can also have that sense of achievement, and they can also have that celebration as well. And here's the good news. When you manage or own a company, now you have something to coach on. How can you coach somebody on something you never trained them on? So now you have training completed and it's been graduated and certified by Service MVP, a third-party company that has a certain quality standard to hold you and your team to. That's the standard of your company. You're now a Pure Motive service provider. And you can even advertise this in your advertising and marketing to the public. But here's the cool part. You now, because you've trained your team, you can now coach them to get back on track to the way they were trained. And you can finally hold them accountable. And accountability is mostly a celebration about the things we've achieved because of the training. But sometimes accountability means to go back and coach your employee. Now, if employees don't want to be coached or they don't want to do the training, then they are identifying themselves as the kind of person who's not qualified to work at your company. What happens with level 1 training is you and your company now have set a standard that everybody has something to live up to here. It's a greater purpose, a higher purpose for the company, pure motive service, if you will, something we can all rally behind. And I would recommend you do a wall wrap or a poster in your company that has pure motive service and all the things that are related to pure motive service. I would recommend that every time you do a meeting with your company after people have been graduated, you do what's called the Pure Motive Pledge, which is pledging to uphold the highest quality, reliability, safety, and health for your clients, customer service to anticipate people's needs, customize relevant solutions to make sure everybody has a personalized experience, and then honesty even when it's not popular. This is something that everybody needs to pledge to every single day. But level 1 training is the thing that makes it special. And guess what? Service MVP is the only company that offers level 1 training. Why is it the only company? Because it's hard. It's hard to have a coach sit with 25 people every single week, 52 weeks a year, for 3 weeks straight every month, and then graduate over 200 employees. We have multiple coaches divided by about 25 people, but we have over 10 coaches that will take these people on that 1-month journey. And then we take them to level 2, which is maintenance calls. And we do 1 day a week now for the next week. And then we do another day where we do lead turnovers. We do next month, lead turnovers, level 3. And then we have level 4, which is a bunch of different things like landlord calls, trying to get the husband and wife together to be able to purchase something as a family or a unit. How do you handle commercial calls? All these different things are handled level 4. Service MVP is the only company that has coach-guided training that actually does the work as opposed to giving you a bunch of manuals to say, teach your team yourself. Let me just say this, guys. Just going to Service MVP and experiencing the training, you as a leader will learn how to teach and train your team better than you ever did before. And that's all we have today on Level 1 training. I hope you enjoyed this podcast as much as I enjoyed bringing it to you. And if you think you need Level 1 training, just go to servicemvp.com and you can text us right there on the very front page of the website and just ask, how much would it take for us to do Level 1 training? There is a financial investment to do Level 1 training at Service MVP, even if you're a 1 or 2 man company. Now you can do Level 1 on your own, and that would be way less money, or you can do Level 1 with a coach of our company. But you know the most expensive thing to do is not train your team, is not do Level 1. To have chaos, to pay somebody payroll. The biggest expense you have in your company is the payroll that you're paying every single week with untrained employees who never knew how to perform service to the standard the company is requiring of them. That's why Service MVP is unique and different, and nobody can ever really copy what we do because it takes so much effort. It's something we're proud of. It's something we want you to join us on. So we welcome you to join us on Level 1 training as an individual person, as a very small company, or as a big coaching client. You're welcome, and we invite you here. Even if you want to do a beta test with a few people, let us know, and we will also take you to that. And don't forget, all the training now has Rilla, which is the AI solution where our coaches not just teach your team, but also monitor their performance on the calls while they're going through this 3-week experience. We definitely welcome all of you to join Service MVP and Rilla together to achieve the highest level of success that your company can do. Thank you so much. We'll see you on the next podcast.